It's Thursday, it's Foul Trouble Day, which means Patrick and I are diving into this week in the NBA, which was the All-Star game. So, better late than never, Patrick and I are going to give our thoughts on what of a disaster All-Star weekend was. Let's get into Foul Trouble.
Flop star weekend, am I right? Oh my God.
That was abysmal. And I feel like what made it even worse for me was showing my girlfriend who had not ever watched, the NBA All-Star game or the All-Star weekend for the first time. I'm like, so this is the dunk contest. This is going to be really cool. Like, these guys are going to throw down some cool dunks. Like, this one guy, Mac McClung, is like the best ever. And the first three guys go, Patrick, and they're so bad. I mean, Castle had some cool dunks, but no first attempts.
Andre Matas couldn't get a ball in the fucking hoop. That was brutal to see. Like, I actually think it was like the second round was a pretty good dunk contest if you're comparing it to like the last 20 years. But the first round just like completely undercut it.
Well, I feel like also sneaky thing for the dunk contest, Mac McClung doing the like clear 50, the jumping over a car reverse dunk, like probably the coolest dunk I've ever seen. But he didn't save it for the end. He did it right at the beginning. And it did pan to the other contestants and they were like, well, I guess this is over. Like, why should I keep trying?
Well, I'm also like what is the scoring on the dunk contest? One, you don't get to hear from any of the judges. That was probably my highlight. I'm sure your highlight as well was seeing Jesse up there.
Yeah.
You don't get to hear anything of what any of them say. And then the scoring is like, is it like a 40 to 50 range? That's it? Just so like everybody can feel good about themselves?
Yeah, I've never liked the way dunk contests are scored. I mean, I do think now that the judges themselves can go between like 40 and 50, it's better than when the judges could only go in like, binary 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Because, I mean, at least now you can differentiate between a 9 and a 10 way better, or a 9 and a 9 way better than you could before. It is a little different, though, because they have more granularity, though. It's a step forward. It's the one thing they did right.
Yeah.
It's a step forward.
But yeah, I'm trying to like. I feel like
the 3-point contest, Patrick. I feel like the 3-point contest was horrible this weekend. Like, I was like, okay, now
horrible.
Here I was like, and here's Damian Lillard. He's won 2 in a row, and then Damian Lillard gets like 16 or 17 in the first round, and I'm like, I feel like the last few years, maybe I'm just nostalgic for even those were not. I feel like the 3-point contest has been the one thing that has been consistently good through all these bad All-Star weekends, and I feel like it was also pretty bad this weekend.
I kind of missed the like random big guy that they used to always throw in the 3-point contest to like keep it funky. I don't know. Like the 3-point contest was fine. That one is so dependent on there being two guys that are just like neck and neck in like honestly every single round. And we didn't really get any of that in this year's 3-point contest either. So that made it forgettable. And then the skills competition was just like the hilarious microcosm of the whole weekend in that CP3 and Wemby just come through and try to like gamify or like game the system and completely cheat. And then they get disqualified, the biggest stars in that whole event. And then they're just pouting on the side, which was another hilarious Jesse, just like sighting of him just like sitting between the two of them, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like it was symbolic in that it's like, how can we put in the least amount of effort to get the most amount of results?
Yeah, I mean, like, yes and no. I felt like with Saturday night, yes, and then Sunday night, it was just like they thought about it way too much. They did way, way, way too much.
I wrote down my list of grievances right as the game was ending.
Okay, and I watched it all last night, so I already knew that it was just a complete disaster. So I was keeping notes as I was watching it, just to try to really tell it to everybody who missed it. But how do you want to go through this?
All right, I'm just gonna read down my list, and then we can go back and talk at them one at a time. All right, final game with the score at 9-1. We took a 25-minute break to suck off the TNT cast. What the? What was that?
In the middle of the game.
In the middle of the game. All right. Kevin Hart throughout was just awful, and I actually like Kevin Hart, but he was just terrible the whole night.
No rapport with anybody.
Nobody seemed happy to have him emceeing.
Shaq
like
wasn't fucking
like...
with him. Chuck wasn't fucking with him. Ernie was trying to make it happen, but yeah, that was a really tough watch. Honestly, the worst I've ever seen Kevin Hart ever.
That was the worst Kevin Hart performance in any movie, any appearance, any live comedy. The worst thing he's ever done was last night. I feel like the Rucker Park MC, when it's like $3,000 seats at the San Francisco Bay Arena, is not. The vibe is too prim and proper to do what he tried to do, and what he tried to do wasn't funny. He wasn't being funny.
Yeah, well, I also thought Kevin Hart's inclusion in the whole thing, it would have been one thing if he was just talking to the TV audience, but he was with the Inside the NBA guys and on the mic in the arena. And so he's roasting all these players, constantly, incessantly complaining about how the big guys are shooting threes in certain games, and they're listening. And I feel like you could see them slowly be like, fuck this.
Shea looked. It took them out of the game.
Yeah, if the NBA's not going to take this seriously, why are we taking this seriously?
Yeah. Okay, next one I had Dalton Connect and Stephon Castle had more total minutes than 9 different All-Star players.
That's crazy. Hey, my boy Ryan Dunn was hooping out there.
I feel like he was shooting it a lot.
Yeah.
He was getting his shots
taking
up.
it to the rim. I was like, wow, Ryan, I need this every game.
Okay, this one, not that I entirely disagree with what he said, but the way he said it and him saying it on the broadcast, Draymond Green saying the format fucking sucks and is a 0 out of 10?
Yeah, I also wrote that down. So he said that after the first game. So I just kept imagining you tune in a half an hour late, turn on the All-Star game, and the first thing you see is Draymond Green being like, this is the worst product ever, 0 out of 10. Turn the channel now.
Yeah, and I feel like the thing is, this is going to sound weird. It's not that I entirely disagree with him that maybe the format isn't a 10, but a 0, just the format. We're not talking about the effort of the players. We're not talking about anything, just the format. And the format, to Chuck's point later in the broadcast, was a product of Draymond Green's generation not trying.
Yeah, no, totally. I also think a lot of people have brought this up, I think, in recent, sports scuttlebutt of just in NFL coverage, Terry Bradshaw, Michael Strahan, Howie Long, Bill Cowher, all those guys, they're not talking shit about the product. No matter how bad the game is, they're not talking shit about the product like the inside guys do.
Yeah, it's this weird thing where it's I feel like which is really funny because I feel like the meme is all the old NFL players have CTE, but it feels like an old NFL player Tom Brady will watch a game that's 9-6 and he'll be like, oh, I played in a couple 9-6 games, these happen. But inside the NBA, Shaq will be like, oh, that big man had a bad game. I've never had a bad game. It's like, dude, do you have CTE? Did you forget that every generation of NBA players has had games where it looked clean, it looked messy, it looked, too many shots? I don't know.
Well, no, I think it is something that's real. They are setting the audience's expectations. They are setting any player that's not there right now. Think of all the young, great players in the league that might not have been an all-star this year, or might not have been in the all-star or in the Rising Stars. They're watching that program as well, and it's just reinforcing, and now it's been a good decade, 2 decades of just constantly being hit over the head by the loudest mic that the NBA has, that the NBA sucks. And I think there is a level of manifestation of
I agree.
What they are saying.
I hope that's the thing. I thought the All-Star weekend was terrible, but I also if you're gonna ask someone, what do you think of the format? The format is independent of the actual weekend, right? It's just the format. You could have had those guys playing really hard, but to say it's a 0 and just be this all sucks and it's going to affect the records. Like, sure, I'm here to hear those arguments about regular season records when we change the amount of games. But who the fuck cares about the All-Star scoring record? You know who the 2 highest scoring All-Star games ever were?
Jason Tatum and
like Anthony Davis. How many
Davis.
other people do you think actually knew or care about that?
Yeah, I mean the only reason I knew is because I watched that last night and they were saying it on the broadcast.
Yeah, it's not even like it's got like Michael, LeBron, Kobe, Hakeem, one of those guys. It is one of these more recent All-Stars, so I don't think any of us will retire like top 15, 20. I agree, man. Even if the weekend was bad, I just don't think it's good for the NBA too. And I think the other difference too I've noticed with the NFL coverage and the NBA coverage is when the NFL has a bad game, and they've had plenty of bad Thursday night games where it's the only game on, and they'll cut to the booth and they'll be like, "This has been a bad game," but they don't go like, "This is a bad league."
Yeah,
I think that's the big difference. Is the NFL coverage unit is able to be like, okay, if it's a bad game, we can say it's a bad game, but we're not going to say everything sucks. Whereas I feel like today, like Kevin Hart's like, why is Karl Towns shooting threes? It's like, well, that's kind of what Karl Towns does. It's kind of his cool thing. He actually was doing it before all the big men were shooting threes. It's kind of his thing. Why are you questioning it live? Like,
propaganda works, NBA. Propaganda works. Just like have your affiliates that are paying you billions of dollars to show your product. Maybe ask them to, be a little positive about what's going on.
Yeah, and then 2 more notes. Oh, 3 more notes. Sorry. The Mr. Beast tie-in was terrible.
It was
so awkward.
The only thing that I could think about when I was watching that, it was like relatively entertaining. But can you imagine if that kid didn't hit that shot? It would have just been like a complete waste of time, which it was already.
Wait, do you mean if that kid didn't hit the shot in the event that Lillard wins, or that kid didn't hit that shot in the event of Mr. Beast going, and I don't even know if he meant for this to be heard out loud or not. That was unclear to me. Was we're going to go to cut to commercial. You better make it.
I mean, both, because at least there was payoff and you're like, oh, cool, that kid won some money. But like, I would not have been excited to see Damian Lillard get $100,000 that he was going to donate. And I was barely excited to see a random kid win $100,000 and watch a random Mr. Beast short in the middle of All-Star Weekend.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I love Mr. Beast. I'm knee deep into Beast games. I've been loving Beast games, but that was just, it was bad. And I guess, Patrick, I don't want to be a hypocrite and be like, the NBA sucks. I'm not saying the NBA sucks. I enjoy the NBA. We're just solely talking about the execution of All-Star Weekend. That was so awkward. It was so weird, and it took forever. It took so long.
Do it before the games start.
Yes. Yeah, or do it as an in-arena event, but not for TV.
Yeah. No,
okay.
I agree. It felt out of place. I didn't think it was bad content in itself, but it totally felt out of place.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of the thing. This weekend had a lot of ideas that I kind of liked, but the execution of the ideas was so not good. Okay, nobody tries still, which, as we've noted, is kind of a product of everything that happened. So I'm still going to point it out, though.
I didn't think it was so bad this year. I got to be honest. I thought as All-Star weekends have gone in the past few years, I think the effort was actually a little bit up. There was still like the alley-oops that no one jumped for. There was still, the insane cross-court passes that just flew out and people just walking up and down. But there was at least like a couple moments where I felt like, the OGs didn't want to lose to the young stars, so they cranked it up a little bit. I think the first game was relatively pretty competitive until the one team stopped, just started missing all their shots. And the last game was really rough.
It kind of felt like if Wemby wasn't there, it would have been a disaster to me. That's how it felt to me.
I wrote in my notes,
Wemby salvaged any semblance of something happening there.
Wemby deserved MVP.
Yeah, also the Giannis, LeBron, and Anthony Edwards are just not going to show up, and we're not going to find out till 2 hours before.
Oh, yeah. Can we, especially LeBron, I think LeBron needs to be hammered for what he what he
I
did.
have a
he
theory on
handled
why
it.
he did this.
What? Because he didn't want to play?
No, I think. Well, so you know how LeBron doesn't like Chuck and Shaq? I don't think he likes the whole TNT crew.
No, not really, but okay, I believe it.
Okay, well, LeBron has a beef with Chuck. He actually has a pretty vicious quote from like 2017 where he like rips into Chuck for being like a dickhead. But Patrick, during the TNT fellatiating or whatever you want to call it, one of the in-arena cameras picked up LeBron staring at Chuck and yelling at the other All-Stars, "They don't even watch basketball." I think LeBron found out what the schedule was going to be, and he said, "I want no part of this." Not to excuse him, but I genuinely think that's what happened. I think he hates those guys. And honestly, I gotta say, TNT, this is the worst way to go out. Like, they're leaving with me being like, I think their time has come. Like, this weekend made me be like, all right, I kind of would rather watch Windhorst on my next NBA pregame. I'm not gonna lie. At least he's excited about what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, as long as the show is not produced by ESPN and has people that actually watch basketball, that's all we need. Because I feel like then it could be a little bit successful. But yeah, I mean, it so gave me, and I mean, this is going to be such an obscure comparison, but like, you know, when like, I whether it's like high school sports or like that end in the wintertime or like, especially it's very rampant in high school theater, but like when like a show or the game will be done and they're like, okay, like we really gotta like give our flowers to all our seniors, and then everybody starts crying and stuff, and it's like you realize that like there's a whole nother semester of school and we're like spending 2 hours appreciating the senior class that hasn't even graduated yet.
Yeah,
that's what I felt like with the Inside the NBA guys. I'm like, we have 3 more months of these guys. What are we doing right now?
No, yeah, honestly, I feel like I'm very ready for Shaq to be out of the like NBA commentating sphere. He's so disconnected from the sport now. It's just not fun to hear him talk about it.
Shaq was rough. It felt like they were all kind of done with it. Like, I don't think they were giving anything.
Also, I forgot to note this. This was so awkward. The weird before the dunk contest, like, guys, can we look back at Vince Carter? And at the time, Vince's dunks were great, sure, but I just watched Mac McClung dunk over a fucking car with a reverse, dude. Like, Vince's dunks compared to McClung's are just not good.
Yeah.
So it's
Simmons was talking about that, and he's like, "Who is this for?"
Yeah,
and
who is this for? I don't know. Who
I
is
don't
this
know
for?
Who that's for?
Like, I feel like it's weird because one, the younger generation is like, bro, I saw my shooting guard at my varsity team do that. And then the older generation has to go accept the fact that like the cool dunk contests in reality are nowhere near as good as the modern dunk contests, which everyone hates.
Well, it for me, it felt like it was for all of the Warriors executives, like senior level executives who had been there in 2001 and this year as well. It's or the fans that had been season ticket holders that could remember seeing that live and seeing this live, but like it wasn't for the TV audience.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if they were like, here's Vince Carter, here's some really cool dunks he did at the time that were at the time generational, and now he's going to introduce the All-Stars, because it felt like Vince himself even was like, this is a little ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it's for he got inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, or is
I don't know,
he's
but
in the class?
He was the one introducing the dunkers, but it felt kind of bad for him because I feel like the camera panned him and he was like, geez, this is a bit much.
Yeah. It's also like a TNT thing. He's a TNT guy.
Yeah, the TNT self-fellatiating was too much. And then, my final note, 33 minutes of basketball the entire Sunday night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The time breakdown is insane. I'm sure you saw it on Reddit. Intro, 30 minutes with ads. Pre-game talk, 10 minutes. Game 1, 12 minutes long. Mr. Beast Challenge, 5 minutes. Second game, 16 minutes long. Then a 6-minute music performance. 9-minute Inside the NBA tribute in the middle of the third game. That was 14 minutes.
I'm not letting them get away with saying it was 9 minutes. I timed it. It was like 22 minutes of real time if you include commercials and everything.
and then another 30 minutes afterwards, and total ads of 80 minutes that's like dispersed throughout. Okay.
So I have a simple fix because I don't know if
before you get to your fix, I just want to point one thing out.
Yeah.
So when I watched it after the fact, and I knew that it was a disaster because it had already happened, so I started taking down notes. But literally from the get-go of this program, it was like they weren't taking it seriously. No one involved. I don't know when you turned on the program, but when it first starts, Shaq is nowhere to be found. It starts with the color commentator being like, we got Candace Parker here. I don't know where Shaq is. Who knows where Shaq is? He says it like 6 times. And while he's looking for Shaq, Candace Parker isn't even ready. She's still getting mic'd up. Just on camera.
Wait.
Standing there.
We have to dig into Shaq, dude. Shaq, they're like, well, the international players have overtaken the USA players. And I think Kenny and Candace are saying it.
Yeah.
And they're clearly referring to like the top 5 players in the NBA. They're clearly not referring to like everybody on the court. And Shaq's like, no. And they're like, okay, Shaq, well, who's your top 5? And he's like, well, Steph, LeBron,
Curry,
Kevin Durant. And they're like, so no Jokic, no Luka, no Shea, no Giannis. And then he's like, no, they haven't earned it yet. I'm like, dog, what has Kevin Durant done to earn it over fucking Jokic or Giannis?
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, no, 100%, 100%, yeah. And he's just saying that. I mean, I think he was very clearly like drunk or something, having a good time because he was not very serious about doing his job. But before the game even starts, James. So we went over the Shaq. Everyone's looking for Shaq. Candace finally has her mic on, and then we go to the interview. On court, the really awkward interview where Kevin Hart is standing in between Chuck and Ernie, and they've got the 2 representatives from the teams. When we go over there, Shea is not even standing there. They're like, oh yeah, Shea, come on over. And he's like running across the court. And then there's just like we said, no rapport between Kevin Hart and anybody. Every single joke is landing flat, and I'm just like, they set the tone for this. Anyone that is saying that the players don't take this seriously or like this is all the players' fault, I just think they need to take some reality pills because no one's taking it seriously.
In years past, I think it's pretty fair to blame some of the players. I don't think it's fair this year. I'm with you. But yeah, also I hate the whole like, Kenny, what are you going to do this game versus Shaq's team? And what is Kenny supposed to say? Like, he's not in control. It's not like he had a practice with these guys. It's not like he's making a game plan. He's completely at the mercy of how hard they're going to try in that moment. Like, and all of the TNT guys know that too. So they're all like, oh, I hope I win. I don't know. Like, it's just these. I hate the awkward interview questions. They're so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's the Kevin Hart porn star joke that obviously made everybody really uncomfortable. And we already talked about the Kevin Hart Shea bashing and the Kevin Hart big man bashing and the Draymond NBA bashing. It was just like a night of honoring the NBA with talking about only how much we hate it and not being prepared for any moment.
So I have a question because I saw this on like some social media comments, and I haven't actually seen it officially myself because no one's putting Wikipedia sources on their tweets and stuff. But I saw somebody say that some All-Stars have said the reason they don't try in the All-Star game is because the NBA's All-Star game schedule on that day doesn't allow them to have their proper warm-up because a lot of these guys who are the top All-Stars like a LeBron or a SGA have very regimented routines on how they warm up. And I think that makes sense. You know, it is kind of hard to go into a full speed basketball game with no proper warm up. And thinking about the All-Star game, it is the big introduction and then a small warm up and then the game goes. And that's how it was in the past. This year was totally, I feel like this year.
They definitely didn't have time to warm up this year.
Have you seen that anywhere?
I didn't see that anywhere, but I believe it. They have them doing so much stuff.
So obviously, I think we've all seen the like winning team gets finals rights, home court rights. The real issue being that unless only the players in the top seeds are probably going to care.
That's what happened with baseball. Baseball tried that out for World Series, home field advantage, and people didn't care if their teams weren't in contention. So it was rough.
But question. If that's the case, Patrick, if teams don't care, why not just only play the guys on teams who would care?
Well, that's what Bill Simmons just recently
so
suggested.
Bill Simmons proposed only top 5 seeds, but what I'm saying is don't even have the top 5 seeds rule, just have the 12 All-Stars, but if push comes to shove and I don't know who's an All-Star from Tyler Hero's not trying because the Miami Heat are a bad team, just sub him out for Donovan Mitchell.
But what if we can't have Steph?
I don't care.
But what if LeBron isn't in a top 5 seed that year?
I feel like you would not see a game where LeBron or Steph are not trying if everyone else is trying. I don't think you'd see that. But
no, I agree with you. I agree with you. I think as an all-star game in the traditional American sense that we know it as, the only way to really make the players care is to attach the home court advantage in the finals to it. One reason why I think that the NBA could expect to be more successful than the MLB in something like that is the very simple reason is there's a lot less players on the court
yes,
at
exactly.
a given time than in a baseball game. So you're going to have less players that are directly affected. For the most part, in the All-Star game, it's only players that are on relatively winning teams or guys that are like, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, guys that like fancy themselves as contenders at any given time anyways. I mean, I don't hate that proposition. I've always been interested in it.
So my quick fix that is like hey, let's try this before we do home court advantage. Because I am buying into this, like, do the All-Stars need to warm up?
Mm-hmm.
Sunday night, you just go back to the basic East-West All-Star or even the captain draft before you do, unless it's the finals stuff on the line. But let's say East-West, normal NBA game, 12-minute quarters, normal scoring, no more Elam ending, etc., etc. After the All-Stars have their big introduction, move one of the Saturday night events there and then let the players warm up while that's happening.
Okay, yeah.
So the players can get a proper warm up. They can feel safe. They can feel like they're getting their routine in, at least some facsimile of their routine, and then let them play a normal game again. I think let it feel more like a real game. Let it feel a little bit more serious. Get rid of TNT being in charge of All-Star ever again. I know they're gone anyway, but don't let NBC do it either. And just, yeah, even if it's boring ESPN, let it be a little bit more serious. I think that's the problem, is it stopped taking itself serious, and because I think the players didn't take it serious, so it stopped taking itself serious, and now it's made it impossible for the players to re-lock in. And I think they need to make the players feel like it's a real game again.
Yeah. So what do you think about the rumors coming out about LA's All-Star game for next year, that there could be a $1 million one-on-one tournament? How do you feel about that?
I think it'd be cool, but I don't know. I feel like the players will never agree to it.
I think you could get some players, but it's like, how bad do you want to see like Jericho Sims go up against Shake Milton, right?
I feel like the problem is, and I feel like you hear this a lot when you listen to NBA player podcasts, is like the best one-on-one players in the NBA in like one-on-one formats are apparently not the superstars that we all know and love. I think we've all heard that story about Michael Beasley used to beat LeBron when LeBron was on the Heat one-on-one in practice. So I don't know.
So here's my idea. I'm very pessimistic on if an all-star format as we know it is really viable just like in today's day and age. Because you look at every major American sport, they're having the same problem that the NBA is having, like as much as we just bashed TNT and the NBA, like they're having the Pro Bowl is not something that anyone is dying to tune into. Honestly, the best All-Star game that I have seen maybe ever was this last weekend where the NHL did the Four Nations face-off. And like that is under very, very like specific circumstances, which made it really interesting for those of you that don't know. The NHL is doing a format where the four countries that basically have the like largest percentage of NHL players, which is America, Canada, Finland, and I think Sweden, they took the best players from each one of those countries, put them on a team, because there's no longer Olympic hockey, I guess. It's only like U18. But so anyways, those like national teams haven't played against each other in a really, really long time. And so the final is this Saturday, and it's going to be USA-Canada. And of course, there is like a lot of geopolitical fuel right now that's making like these games really, really competitive. But also, I think like we saw it in the Olympics this year. When you're playing for your country, there is a little extra like oomph, no matter what the geopolitical tensions are between two countries. But I watched that game this week in the USA-Canada game, and that was an incredible game. Like the guys were flying all over the place. I saw stats that like they were hitting each other at a higher rate than like in most normal NHL games. Like that was awesome. So I think like you could potentially try to do some kind of, I don't know, continent face-off in the NBA. It gets a little tougher with the NBA because it's like obviously the United States would be so loaded, and then it's like, you know, France is good, obviously.
Well, what if they did by continent?
Yeah, you could maybe do by continent. I'm just like,
it'd be tough.
Asia's going to be a little
Asia and
weak.
South America are going to get wrecked.
South America.
Australia,
yeah. But, and I'm like, then in my mind, I'm like, let's do the former like country of Yugoslavia. But there's obviously like a lot of reasons that can't happen as well.
I'm not ready to give up on the All-Star game because I still think it is cool when you have the best, you know, let's say 10 of the best 12 players on the court in a game that is close with 4 minutes left. Because I feel like the thing with the All-Star game is every year that the game is close, even if they're not trying, it ends up being good in the end. So,
yeah.
And I think the NBA kind of realized that with the Elam ending, but the problem is if one team is way too big of a lead, it's just, you know, it's just like that. I feel like they just need to do an overall All-Star game, and I think we just need to accept that some years, if the game isn't close, it's going to suck, but on the years where the game is close, it will be good.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I have one more
right.
idea,
you're
too.
Probably right. I also have another idea, but you go with yours. Mine's a little crazy.
No three-pointers in the All-Star game.
I was thinking about that. That
but
wasn't my idea.
I
like
on
that.
The three, or I'm an old man. It's because the reason I'm saying it is because I've noticed the reason why All-Star games turn into blowouts is because the two teams take the same shots, and one team happens to make it, and one team happens to miss it. And I guess you could say that's basketball, but in games where there's a three-pointer, it exacerbates the issue, and it makes it so the fourth quarters aren't close.
Yeah, let's just make the court like we'll pluck it from the 1950s. Like,
yeah,
we'll have a Mikan era court.
Hot take. I don't give a shit about logo shots anymore. We've seen them. They don't excite me anymore. Like, they're so normal in today's NBA world, especially coming from Steph and Dame, that I don't need to see Steph and Dame passing each other logo shots repeatedly like I have for the last 8 years. I'm over it.
If you make 2 logo shots, you get All-Star MVP.
Yeah.
That's the rule. Okay, here's my fail-safe. If we do if we try every single one of the ideas that we've laid out and everybody else lays out, we've already seen that the NBA has been able to incentivize games that don't necessarily count on the schedule. What if we just get to see the 2 number 1 seeds at All-Star break face off for home court advantage?
For their whole conference.
Yeah, for their whole conference. If you're number 1, if you have the number 1 seed by All-Star break, you get to play in one game at All-Star weekend on a neutral court, most likely, for the right for home court advantage at in the finals. Like, I think a lot of people would tune in to see OKC versus Cleveland right now. That would be a great game. It would be a great way to show teams that, maybe the general public hasn't really watched very much OKC and Cleveland. We're like, put the dunk contest at halftime, put the 3-point contest before that, have all the other All-Stars compete in those things, and have the two best teams in the league compete at All-Star Weekend, something that really matters, real basketball. That's what we all want, right?
That's a great idea. I feel like this is a great starting point. I guess I'm wondering, how do we incorporate other All-Stars? So, because they're all going to be there.
They're in the 3-point contest.
Like,
they're in the dunk contest.
Yeah, like
that's what they do.
I kind of like this. It's like 4 minutes left in the second quarter, and all of a sudden the game double boxes, and we got Anthony Edwards, talking about the game on the left side, and then the third quarter we got Steph talking about the game. We got
get them in the booth, have them running the whole thing, right?
Yeah, we got like who's the 2 seed in the West? Is it right now? It's Memphis.
Yeah,
we got John Morant being like, it should be us out there.
Yeah, hey, you can even like grab a coach from a different team or something. Have all of the like head coaches for the top 5 seeds on the bench with the West and the East. So like they're all the best basketball minds are like, we got to get this for our conference. Like, let's really beef up conference pride.
I don't hate it. I guess the only thing that I've always hated about winner take all things is and it would kind of defeat the purpose, but I don't understand why the NBA ever went away from this, but the first year they introduced the play-in, they did it the best, and they have never done it the same way, where if there's a certain amount of wins lead you have, you shouldn't be subject to these things. Like, if the East seed is like a 70-win team and the West seed is like a 58-win team, I feel like the East should just get home court. There should be some sort of like, if you're this many wins over, it supersedes it.
But there's no guarantee that you're going to make the finals.
That's true.
Think about that San Antonio team.
That's so true. 67-win team.
Like 67 wins. I mean, I know they weren't first in their conference, but yeah, I mean, like, I just keep hearing like everybody wants to see basketball that matters at All-Star Weekend. Like, then let's just have the teams play. I don't know. And you can also put a cash prize there for the teams as well. So it's like, if for whatever reason they feel like they don't need home court advantage, it's like, oh, you guys also each win, $500,000 each if you win the game.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I feel like they need to make the game itself more serious. They need to make All-Star Weekend less goofy. It's to your point. If the broadcasting team, if the NBA itself doesn't set the tone, the players are going to follow suit.
Yeah.
It's like, if the players don't try, at least say that you tried. Because it's hypocritical to not try and then blame the players. At least before it was like, okay, it is on them. This year it was not on them, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, if you have a family and you really want like to spend family time together, but then at dinner you're just on your phone the whole time and you're wondering why your kids like don't talk to you, like, that's probably why you're not embracing the one time that you have together and spending it seriously.
Yeah. Okay, well, this was All-Star, everybody. It was something. It was really bad. I have made a decision that I'm not watching next year.
Yeah, I did have like a family reason why I didn't watch this year, but yeah, it would be, I'll watch if we're talking about it, but oof.
Patrick comes on before we start recording, and he's like, I watched the All-Star, and I was like, I'm so sorry. And he's like, and I made an effort to watch it in real time with commercials and everything. And I was like, I am so sorry. I can't believe you subjected yourself to that for the pod.
I'm so glad I did, though, because like it truly was jaw-dropping when it was like, okay, like the Mr. Beast thing is done. And now we're outside with like, with Draymond and that crew, we're not going back to the game. It was just, yeah, every moment was more surprising than the next in the worst possible way.
I feel like the NBA doesn't realize like what, and I think this is another thing the NFL has done well, is like the NBA is like, it's like, here's Shaq and Shaq on, TNT, and then on ESPN it's like, here's your buttoned up standard journalists. So I personally I don't mind. Like I like hearing
Kendrick
Windhorst
Perkins.
talk. Yeah, like I wish.
No,
like,
I agree.
Everyone
I agree.
has their standard ESPN critiques. Like let them talk more. The problem with ESPN is really that it's overproduced. They don't have too many commercial breaks. But like, on the NFL side, it's like you've got like the Pat McAfee show, which isn't official, but like it gets integrated into it. You've got like all these more like 25-year-old guys eating pizza at their couch talking about the game, kind of like fan vibe. And I feel like that's the one thing through and through the NBA is consistently doing is it's throwing away like the fans. I feel like the fans are always the most disregarded part of the NBA ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Turner would say like that is what inside the NBA's function is in the ecosystem. It's to be
to me,
that
it doesn't
more laid
feel
back.
like that. It doesn't feel like you and your friends sitting there. It feels maybe it used to feel that way, but I don't know. I can't watch Shaq anymore, who clearly doesn't watch or care about the sport, and be like, that's the guy I would watch the game with.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think that's fair.
Like I guess it's like you could picture going to a bar with Pat McAfee. You could never picture yourself going to a bar with Kenny or Chuck.
I can't imagine having a conversation with Shaq or I mean, I guess I could imagine having a conversation with Charles Barkley and Ernie Johnson, which is why the show works. But yeah, no, it's just I don't know. I'm very excited to see what NBC does with not only the All-Star game. I'm not sure exactly even who has the All-Star game, Amazon or yeah, it will be NBC. But I'm just excited to see if they are ready to embrace storytelling in like the production of the NBA again, and storytelling in a sense of like, myth making instead of storytelling like it's a CNN show like ESPN does.
Yeah, I feel like also the NBA is unique too because there's all these NBA player podcasts which feel about them the way you will, but they have shown that there's guys like Jeff Teague who I think could easily slot in and be really funny if you are going to make it more jokey like that.
I mean, I guess we're getting
like why not replace Kevin Hart with Jeff Teague? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Jeff Teague could drive that show the way Kevin Hart did. But yeah, I did feel like it needed to be someone maybe younger, someone who could flip the switch between jokey and serious, driving the show a little bit better.
I guess to me it kind of feels like we have all these NBA players who I guess are like openly auditioning to be like, let me be the next TNT guy, and the TNT guys have been doing this since the 90s. Like let's let Carmelo Anthony come in there. Like let's get the new guys in there. I don't think NBC should roll it back with them. Honestly, I think this should be the last year.
That said, dude, it's like TNT's been trying, but like I haven't necessarily loved like what I've seen from Jamal Crawford and like Vince Carter. Like I don't know how big of a Adam Lefkoe guy you are, but
no,
like,
I'm not. I don't love their new crop, but that's I don't know. But that's the thing is they're like it's not that they're trying; it's that they've chosen, and we've been kind of that's who they've rolled with. Like they didn't really try guys for like 1 year and be like it didn't work. Let's move on.
Yeah, I think
I guess
Candace
it's like,
Parker
think about
is
it like
like a
this,
mixed
like-
bag.
Yeah, I feel like Candace doesn't know if she's trying to be serious or jokey, and it's like hard for her given the environment TNT produces. But like in the NFL, I know we keep doing comparisons, but like Drew Brees is a bigger name than Jamal Crawford. He had 1 year, and they said, "Bro, you suck at this. You're gone."
Yeah. No, they don't have like a Tony Romo, at least like on the color,
set,
and
yeah.
then.
But those
And
people
then-
exist. Those people are out there.
Yeah, I think it's just probably
Like, are we just waiting
looking
for
in different
DeAndre Jordan to
places.
retire? Because he'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah, probably. DeAndre Jordan to retire. I mean, I even wonder how like, the biggest loss is JJ.
Yeah.
JJ's perfect for like he can do both. He can do the commentary like pregame, postgame, and then he can also do like on the color on the call. But yeah, it's so rare to really find guys like that. I guess Jamal Crawford is kind of like that. I just think he does get a little boring sometimes. And I don't like Vince Carter, honestly. Like he seems like a nice guy, but he's just like not interesting in my opinion.
I agree. I do. Yeah, Vince seems like a great guy, but I totally agree.
I think Draymond like seems like just like completely in the Charles Barkley Shaq mold of just like, we're trying to find the next Charles Barkley, but you're never going to be able to find the next Charles Barkley, you know?
I feel like I feel like Draymond. I don't want it. I don't want Draymond on. I just don't want Draymond on any of these shows. He's just too much of a hater. He's going to so clearly be an old head hater when he retires. Who's like, oh, 2030 NBA sucks. This is why it sucks. But it's like, dude, come on.
Yeah. The guy that I was missing, the guy that I would have rather had in Kevin Hart's place is a guy that they could not have gotten, but it was Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's saying like, the guy that the Suns are missing, it's Michael Jordan.
Yeah, if we had him.
Yeah, if we had him, we'd be great. Someone who can be buttoned up but keep like is interesting on camera too.
Yeah. You know what's weird? This guy, the Lid Store, pointed this out to me when I was at the Lid Store the other day. We were talking about the All-Star game yesterday, and he was like, you know what's really weird is like they honor Vince Carter, and the year before they honor this guy, and we just never see Michael Jordan. He just doesn't exist anymore. And I was like, that is low-key a great point. Like, why does Michael Jordan just not exist in the NBA world anymore?
Well, do you know what he's doing?
Owning the Hornets?
He is. I mean, he is. Yeah. He's a minority owner in the Hornets now. Still,
yeah.
But he is the majority owner of like a racing and NASCAR franchise. And that's where he's pouring like all of his time into. I just saw like some article. They just won some big race, and he's like, "Yeah, like I'm loving this," because he's he couldn't do it in the NBA.
Yeah, I guess it's weird that he's the owner of a franchise that isn't the Bulls.
Yeah,
because it feels like there should be a little bit more like Jordan Bulls stuff. But I mean, I guess he just outgrew the Bulls because he's just bigger than one team. But
yeah, who would the Bulls fans rather have, Michael Jordan or Reinsdorf, two of the worst owners in the NBA over the last 30 years?
No, but it is weird that we don't have it. Like, he's just not a part of the NBA world anymore.
Yeah, he's not a fixture.
I don't know. I feel like if we're gonna look back, like let's look back at like him.
Yeah. Well, to your point, it's like throughout Bill Russell's life. To the Lids guy's point, you look at like Bill Russell was always so involved with the NBA throughout his life. I think even like Wilt Chamberlain was in and out throughout the course of his life. But Magic Johnson obviously has been hyper involved in the NBA. And even Larry Bird, like, he makes his appearances. He definitely makes more appearances than a guy like Michael Jordan does. I think the last time we saw both of them was that the NBA 75. But I think Jordan's leadership, I wonder if that changes things. And before we know it, that's going to be LeBron. LeBron's going to have the opportunity to really
You think LeBron is going to disappear from the NBA world or be a part of it like 10 years after? I think he's going to be gone.
Really?
I don't know.
Why?
I kind of have that. Unless he's an owner, but I feel like that's the thing. If he's an owner, I feel like you're just not going to. I feel like he's going to go the Jordan route. You just don't see him much.
I don't know. I think he would skew more Magic Johnson and just finds a way to, kind of always. Because even like from the second Magic retired, Magic was still like in
Lakers broadcaster,
major
Lakers
Laker
coach,
lore.
He just couldn't lead the Lakers because it got taken from him too early.
And I just feel like I could really see LeBron doing that, especially since he's not really like chained down to one franchise the way Magic was. Like he could go do stuff in, post Pat Riley Miami. He could go do stuff in Cleveland, obviously. He could go do stuff with the Lakers. He could go do stuff with new franchises. I don't know. Yeah, I think LeBron will be around.
Yeah. Well, should we get to best take, worst take?
Let's get to best take, worst take, the part of the program where we discuss who had the best take of the last 7 days and who had the worst take in the last 7 days of NBA and greater NBA words. I don't know. Where do you best take, worst take?
My best take goes to Oscar Robertson. On Draymond Green saying the games are boring. Quote, Draymond says so much. I mean, who cares what he says? It might be boring to him because all he does is pass the ball to Stephen Curry.
I feel like as I've gotten older, I like Oscar Robertson more and more because
He's like
just
the cool old head. He's got like the
just
witty retorts.
the A1 hater, cool old head. Yeah, I'm so with you on that. My best take of the week, back-to-back weeks, goes to Jason Tatum, who it goes to Steph. Steph said it to Jason Tatum. I take that back. But Steph, when he received his All-Star MVP, turned to Jason Tatum and said, Lifetime Achievement Award, which is 100% true because Steph was awful in, I feel like, all those games. He had so many. I was watching it knowing that Steph won MVP, and I just couldn't believe. I know he hit those 3 threes late, but he did absolutely nothing in their first game. And then he just walks away with the Kobe Bryant All-Star MVP award.
Yeah, I will say Tatum had a best take nominee. Nothing super enlightening or groundbreaking, but he did say the toughest part, they stopped the game to do their presentation. We sat down for 20 minutes. It's hard to get into the game after that.
Yeah.
Facts. I guess my worst take, I don't really have like a quote. It's just my worst take is Adam Silver.
What did he do?
He did All-Star Weekend.
He did All-Star Weekend.
No, but also Adam Silver a week before All-Star Weekend did say he views the NBA as a lifestyle brand, and I feel like to say that and then follow it up with this is a really disastrous turn of events.
Wow. Okay, conspiracy theory.
I mean,
did Turner throw the All-Star game because they lost the rights?
Yeah, how much power does the broadcast company have over the show of events?
I mean, they must have, like, I would imagine, ultimate say on, like, the run of events, but I think I don't know, it's got to be, like, a group effort.
You know what Adam Silver needs to do? He needs to do what Goodell did when Goodell was mad at ESPN, and he was like, we're just going to give you Titans Jaguars every fucking Thursday, buddy, until you stop pissing me off. They need to start being like, you know what? Trailblazers Nets. Now it's a national game, and now you have it. TNT.
Hey. We're done, TNT. But, you know, because they were set up for failure by the NBA, I will say, because I am assuming it was the NBA's decision to switch to this 3-game to 40 format. But in watching it back, I realized that the run time, it was about 2.5 hours, which is the exact amount of time that you would need for a normal length game. So part of me kind of felt bad for TNT, and I'm like, were you guys just trying to figure out how to fill out the time that you committed to showing on your air? And that's why it was like, that's why you did the, you know, inside the NBA suckfest in the middle of the last game?
The Suckfest is even more awkward. The fact that they're going to be on TV in like a week, like that seemed like a closure, not like it's your point. Like it's honoring the seniors before they've graduated. Like you're honoring a guy who might not even walk up there because he didn't get he didn't meet the minimum.
Right? Yeah. The teachers were only giving them passing grades during football season, and now they might not even graduate.
Yeah.
Okay. My worst take of the week goes to one of my favorite voices in the NBA world, Bill Simmons, who said that he thinks props should be banned from the NBA dunk contest. And to that, I say, that was the only thing that kept me going through the NBA dunk contest.
He was big hating on Mac McClung.
I get the Mac McClung hate. Like, if you're going to be a hater, it's easy to hate on Mac McClung. But, like, what would this NBA dunk contest have been without any of the props?
I don't think the Mac McClung hate is fair. I get that he's not in the actual NBA, he's in the G League, but Mac McClung is like save the dunk contest. If Mac McClung didn't exist, I feel like this would be year 3 of us being like, holy shit, the dunk contest sucks.
That's true. Do
you remember
100%.
how bad the one in Utah was? And Jaylen Brown did a left-handed dunk. Like just a left-handed dunk was his dunk. Like last year.
Hey, that was who was it? I think it was Matas. Like, accidentally mishandled the ball on the side of the backboard dunk and essentially did a layup.
That's
like a reverse layup.
If it wasn't for Mac McClung, I think the dunk contest would have been abolished by now.
Yeah, I felt bad for Matas. That was like a all-time rough shot. Like I would have to go back and watch every dunk contest, but I can't imagine there's been a worse performance. Because
Dude, there have been some bad ones the last
He
few
didn't
years.
make a dunk the first round. His first whole dunk opportunity, and then the second one, he didn't even dunk it. He did a reverse.
There have been some really bad dunks the last 3 years that were done by everyone but McClung. I feel like that's the other thing. McClung is like, he's so good, and I'm not taking away from his wins at all because I think McClung could legitimately beat anybody. But like, I feel like we've seen him go against some of the worst opposition we've ever seen for dunk contests.
That's true. I also tweeted something that I do believe about the dunk contest is I think the dunk contest would be better on tape delay. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care. Edit out all the misses. I want to see the makes. That's all I want to see. What about my other candidate for best take of the week was John Morant's tweet. Mac might make me decide to dunk, and then he followed that up with a Zach LaVine AG eye emoji tweet. What do you think about that? What are the chances you give that of actually happening?
0. I feel like every year people talk up like, wow, this was so bad. Next year I'm gonna participate, and then they don't.
But I feel like usually they're asked about it and they're like, no, it was his idea. He brought it up.
I feel like Gordon and Levine were like, God damn, this McClung guy is good. He's making everyone forget about how good we were.
Yeah. First 3 time.
Also, yeah, okay. I think that's how we feel. Should we get to hot streak shooting slump?
Yes, let's get to hot streak shooting slump, where we talk about if our last week we've been on a hot streak in life or a shooting slump. James?
I'm on a hot streak for no particular reason other than I just had a great weekend. I did a good hike, and I got spent a lot of time with the girlfriend. Having a good week at work, productive, feeling good. Had a good workout yesterday. Kind of just like going through the motions of life, but going through them pretty well. Definitely shooting slump considerations for watching the All-Star game, but I did have it on my second screen while I was playing video games because it did not warrant my full attention. Funny story though. So my girlfriend is studying for something, and we made an agreement that we'd mute the TV while the commercials were going. Patrick, the amount of times that she had to just fling at my keyboard to lower the volume because it's commercial break every 2 seconds. Part of me was like, should I just turn it off so she lets me watch it in the future? Because I think I might not be allowed to watch it again after this.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be banned from the TV. I don't blame her if she does ban it.
Yeah, if it's banned, I'll be okay.
Yeah, you won't be missing much. I'm not sure which way to go for my hot streak or shooting slump this week because I've had a lot of like major family events. One, which is like obviously a hot streak candidate, is my twin brother. He proposed to his amazing
engaged.
Girlfriend Madison, and they are engaged now, so that is very exciting. But on the same day, my 96-year-old grandpa fell and broke his hip, so that's never good. But he is an absolute boss, and he is already up and walking. He had surgery on Saturday and is already up and walking. So I got to give a huge shout out to my grandpa Bud, just like an absolute legend. He can't be stopped. So like bad, but like progressing well.
Just
about
very
as good
mixed
as
bag, yeah.
Yeah, you can hope as good as you can hope for like a hip break from a 96-year-old. But yeah, had that. I'm getting dangerously close to closing in on a wedding venue. That was also a big development. I'll go hot streak. Why not? I had a 3-day weekend. Not everything can be I didn't have to watch the Suns this weekend at all. That was great. What a nice, refreshing change. And I'm just, starting today, we get to see the Mark Williams revenge tour against the Lakers. And, no,
today?
I'm on a hot. Yeah. It's, there wasn't supposed to be a game today, but I think the game was canceled because of the fires.
So this is the makeup game?
So we got a Lakers Hornets makeup game. Who do you think Who do you think leads or scores more points, Dalton Connect or Mark Williams in this game?
Well, the Lakers have no centers right now.
That's true.
Is
true.
Mark Williams gonna play?
I don't know. Probably not. I
saw some like spin that it was like the Hornets kind of went into like disaster mode, and they were like, we need to like now get this guy back on track, which I think is going to be harder for them than it will be for the Lakers with Connect.
I mean, Connect, he already played.
Yeah.
Once.
Well, I'm gonna watch. I've enjoyed watching this Luka LeBron pairing, even though it's been only 2 games. It's just fun to see it unfold.
I know. I can't wait to see them play against someone who is not the Utah Jazz and the Charlotte Hornets.
Well, Patrick, I have bad news for you because they get the Trailblazers got that Kumara guy. He might throw Luka some problems.
We traded them Tumani Kamara in the DeAndre Ayton trade.
All right. So for those of you who are not aware, we'll talk about this guy next week. There is a guy in the Trailblazers, Tumani Kamara, who has just become this like freakishly good defensive player. Who's a big reason why they've started winning a lot of games lately.
Yeah, and he was originally he was drafted by the Suns and traded before he ever played a game. He played summer league in the purple and orange. But
well, Patrick,
would
the
really
Nuggets
be
traded
nice
Donovan
to have
Mitchell,
him.
so there's worse
That's
things
true.
that have happened.
That's true.
The Mavericks traded Luka Doncic.
Oh, so we can never complain about a trade again because
Never
the Mavericks traded Luka Doncic.
Yeah, Luka's just gonna ruin this for you. All right,
you know how much I was we at Bucket Squad HQ. There was like a big here's a bunch of like Bucket Squad swag. You can take it if you want. I have flipped my Mavericks hate so much just to like feeling bad for them. I almost took a Mavericks t-shirt. I didn't, but I almost did. That's all I got for this week.
We will see you guys next week. Peace.